All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're basically going to be linguistic detectives. We're on a mission to uncover the real meaning of a word that you hear all the time, a word you think you know, but its true definition, well, it's been buried for centuries. And believe it or not, our first clue comes from a really strange headline. So get this actually happened. In Minnesota, a gathering of people was physically broken up by another group of people who just walked right into their space. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a riddle, right? Almost nonsensical. But what's so wild is that this totally modern moment of confusion is like a perfect reenactment of an ancient event. And by figuring this out, we can solve a 2,000-year-old puzzle. So yeah, you have this literal collision of two assemblies in the exact same physical space. And this one weird event in Minnesota, that's our launching point for a much, much bigger investigation. I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? How is that even possible? Well, the answer isn't in today's headlines. It's hidden deep inside the New Testament, in a story about a riot, a mob, and a single, really powerful Greek word that honestly changes everything. Okay, so let's jump in our time machine. We're going back, way back. Our investigation takes us to the ancient city of Ephesus. And you could say our crime scene is a story recorded in the book of Acts, chapter 19. But this isn't just some old story. It's a live demonstration of the very word we're hunting down. So here's how the story goes down. It's basically in 4 parts. It all kicks off with a guy named Demetrius. He's an idol maker, and he calls a meeting with all his buddies in the same business. They are not happy because the Apostle Paul's preaching is, bad for business. Well, that private meeting's anger spills out onto the streets, causing this citywide chaos. And it all ends with a crazy mob dragging 2 of Paul's friends into the local theater. Finally, the city clerk has to step in and try to get things under control. Just keep that sequence of events in your head, because the clue is hidden in how the writer describes it all. And here it is, the smoking gun, the central piece of evidence. The author of Acts, a guy named Luke, uses one specific Greek word over and over again to describe what's happening, and that word is ekklesia. How he uses it is what blows this whole case wide open. Okay, so let's just get a baseline definition down. Ekklesia simply means an assembly, a gathering of people who've been called together for some purpose. It's a really practical, non-mystical word. It just describes a physical event, people getting together in one place. Simple enough, right? But watch what happens next. Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. The author of Acts uses this one word, ekklesia, for 3 completely different groups of people. I mean, think about it. First, you've got Demetrius's private business meeting with his craftsmen. That's an ekklesia. Then you have this chaotic, angry mob storming the theater. Guess what? Also an ekklesia. And finally, you have the official, lawful city meeting the clerk wants to have. Yep, you guessed it. That's called an ekklesia too. So a trade guild, a pagan mob, and a city council meeting all get the exact same label. What does that tell you? Well, it tells you this, and it's so important. The word ekklesia itself isn't religious. It's not sacred. It's totally neutral. Its character, whether it's a good gathering or a bad one, a legal one or an illegal one, that is determined entirely by the people who showed up and why they showed up. The word itself just means assembly. That's it. But the author saves the biggest, most decisive clue for the very end. After everything we've just seen, the entire meaning of this word really hinges on the last thing the city clerk does. This is the moment that unlocks the whole thing. He dismissed the assembly. He sent them home. That one little sentence is the key to this whole puzzle. Just think for a second about what it actually means to dismiss a gathering. This right here is the core truth. An ekklesia is a temporary event. It only exists for as long as the people are physically gathered together. The second they're dismissed and they all go home, the ekklesia, the assembly, is over. It literally ceases to exist. This is so crucial, so let's just spell it out. The ekklesia is the gathering itself. When the people disperse, there's no assembly left hanging in the air. The people are still there, their friendships are still there, but the actual event called the ekklesia is done until they gather again. It's an action, not some permanent thing. Okay. So we have our answer. Let's take what we learned from this ancient riot and bring it all the way back to solve our modern puzzle. And while we're at it, we're going to have to confront a very common, and as we're about to see, a very tricky translation. And just like that, the Minnesota incident makes perfect sense. It wasn't some abstract idea disrupting another. It was a physical assembly of people and ekklesia getting disrupted by another physical assembly of people, another ekklesia. One gathered group literally collided with another. Puzzle solved. So you might be asking, okay,
why don't our Bibles just say assembly all the time? Well, that's a great question, and the answer is so revealing. Just imagine for a second if the King James translators had stuck with their favorite translation, church. Back in Acts 19, you get sentences like, the church was in confusion, or how about this one? The church risked being charged with rioting. I mean, can you picture that? And the absolute best one, he dismissed the church. How do you dismiss a church? It's nonsense, right? And they knew it. They knew it didn't work because Ekklesia wasn't about an institution. So for this one specific chapter, they quietly swapped it out for assembly. They basically proved our point for us without even realizing it.
So after all our detective work, here's the bottom line. The word ekklesia, the word we've always been told means church, originally just meant a physical, real-time gathering of people. It's an action, it's an event, it's not a building, it's not an organization. It only exists when people are actually together, and it's over when they go home. Realizing that changes so much about one of the most common words we use.
And that leaves us with the final, and maybe the most important question. If the foundational word we use for church really just means people physically getting together, what does that change? What does that change about how we think, how we act, and what we do when we actually gather? What does that discovery change for you?